I can only speak of the men that were in my life, and they were all pretty hardcore. They were gentlemen. I mean, they weren't assholes. They were nice men, but they were hardcore. They were hard-working men.
There is a certain silence to Sam Elliott's legacy, a low, steady rumble beneath the surface, like distant thunder drifting over an old western plain. For more than 8 decades, he has lived between myth and man, shaping a career built on grit, loyalty, and a kind of honesty Hollywood rarely rewards. But behind the roles and the unmistakable drawl lies a private truth. Sam Elliott was shaped not by fame, but by the men he admired. As he once reflected in an interview, his voice dropping to a whisper, "You don't walk this road alone. The good ones, they leave their mark on you." Today, at 81, Sam speaks of the 6 men who shaped his journey. Watch until the end and trust me, all the men he talks about are all legends and favorite to you all. Number 1. Clint Eastwood. Sam Elliott has often said that he learned more from Clint Eastwood without a single word spoken than he learned from entire scripts. Their connection wasn't built in dressing rooms or Hollywood parties, it was forged in the quiet spaces on set, in the pauses between takes, in the unspoken understanding shared by 2 men who believed that acting wasn't about noise, but presence. Sam first watched Eastwood in the late 1960s, long before they would ever share a conversation. He remembered sitting in a small, dim theater, studying the way Clint stood still, how he let silence stretch until the audience leaned in. To Sam, that was power. Not shouting, not theatrics, but restraint. Years later, when Elliott became known for his own quiet intensity, he openly credited Eastwood for teaching him that lesson. In a 2017 interview, Sam recalled, "Clint showed me that a man who speaks softly can still own every inch of the room. It wasn't flattery, it was truth." Eastwood's filmmaking philosophy, especially during the 1990s when he directed Unforgiven and A Perfect World, became a kind of blueprint for Elliott. Keep your crew small. Trust your instincts. Honor the story. The first time they met at a charity event in Los Angeles in the early 2000s, Clint simply nodded at him and said, "Good work you've been doing." For Sam, that was enough. Respect in their world didn't need decoration. Elliott admired Eastwood not only for his discipline, but for his longevity. He often pointed to Clint's remarkable work ethic, still directing films into his late 80s, and said it was proof that passion never retires. To Sam Elliott, Clint Eastwood was more than a Hollywood giant. He was a reminder that strength can be quiet, wisdom can be simple, and a legacy can be carved in silence. Number 2. Robert Duvall. If Clint Eastwood taught Sam Elliott the power of silence, then Robert Duvall taught him the power of truth. Sam has long admired actors who didn't perform for the camera but lived within it, and no one embodied that philosophy more than Duvall. From The Godfather to Tender Mercies to Lonesome Dove, Duvall showed Sam that great acting wasn't about grand gestures. It was about authenticity, so deep it felt almost invisible. Sam often said that watching Duvall work was like watching a man build something with his bare hands. Every movement had intention. Every word carried a lifetime behind it. Elliott first expressed his admiration in a late 1990s interview, saying, "Duvall doesn't act. He just is. And that's the highest compliment I can give any man in this business." When Sam worked opposite actors who carried heavy technique, he would sometimes reference Duvall quietly on set, reminding himself to strip away everything except the truth of the moment. He has often referred to Duvall's performance in Tender Mercies, 1983, as one of the most honest portrayals he had ever seen, praising the emotional stillness and the raw humanity. Their paths crossed occasionally at industry events, most memorably at a Western Heritage Awards ceremony in Oklahoma City. Duvall, grinning under the soft theater lights, shook Sam's hand firmly and told him, "You've got the real thing. Keep doing what you're doing." Sam treasured those words more than any trophy. In recent interviews, Elliott has reflected on how Duvall influenced his approach to aging as an actor. There were no gimmicks, no desperate grasps at relevance, just craftsmanship, discipline, and the belief that truth on screen is timeless. To Sam, Robert Duvall was a master, a man who carried storms inside him, yet delivered them with the gentlest touch. Number 3. John Wayne. Long before Sam Elliott ever appeared in a film, he grew up watching John Wayne stride across dusty screens like a force of nature. To a young Sam, Wayne wasn't just a movie star, he was the embodiment of American masculinity, a towering symbol of grit, honor, and the unbroken spine of the Old West. Sam often said that Wayne was the reason he believed in Westerns in the first place. But admiration became something deeper the moment Sam set foot in Hollywood in the late 1960s. Everywhere he went, sound stages, union halls, casting offices, the shadow of John Wayne lingered. People spoke of him not just as a legend, but as a standard. Sam later recalled in a 2005 interview, "If you worked a Western, even decades later, Duke was still in the room with you." Although Sam and Wayne never made a film together, their paths crossed during an industry gathering in the early 1970s. Sam, young and unknown, stood quietly off to the side when Wayne passed by. The Duke glanced at him, stopped, and with that unmistakable voice said, "Kid, you belong in a saddle." Sam never forgot it. Those 6 words became a kind of prophecy. Wayne's influence wasn't about style alone. It was about principles. Sam admired how Wayne insisted on authenticity in Western filmmaking, how he respected horses, crew members, and the codes of the frontier. Sam often cited The Searchers and True Grit as emotional touchstones, films that taught him how myth and morality could coexist. Later in life, Sam would reflect on Wayne's complicated legacy, acknowledging his flaws while still recognizing his undeniable impact. Yet in Sam's heart, Wayne represented something simple and pure, a man whose presence filled the world, even when he said nothing at all. To Sam Elliott, John Wayne wasn't just a legend, he was a compass. Number 4. Tom Selleck. Among the men Sam Elliott admired, Tom Selleck was the one who felt most like family. Their connection didn't come from myth or legend, it came from the trenches of real work, long days, dusty sets, and a shared respect for the dying art of the Western. When they first collaborated on the 1991 classic Quigley Down Under, Sam was struck not by Selleck's fame, but by his humility. Selleck was already a household name, yet he treated every crew member with the same dignity he showed studio executives. Sam later recalled, "Tom's a rarity in this business, a man who doesn't forget where he came from." Their chemistry on set wasn't an accident. It came from a mutual understanding of what the Western genre meant, not just its mythology, but its moral code. Both men believed in authenticity. Both rejected shortcuts. Both demanded that every gunfight, every silence, every stare carried emotional truth. Sam often spoke about how Selleck carried himself during filming, arriving early, staying late, keeping spirits high. When production challenges hit, Sam remembered Selleck pulling him aside with a quiet grin. "We'll get through it. We always do." It was the kind of reassurance that only a true partner could give. What impressed Sam most was Tom's loyalty. Hollywood is a town built on convenience, but Selleck never forgot the people who helped him rise. In interviews throughout the 2000s and 2010s, Sam repeatedly mentioned Selleck as one of the most dependable men he had ever worked with. Even decades later, Sam still pointed to Quigley Down Under as one of the films that defined his understanding of camaraderie. Selleck wasn't just a co-star, He was a reminder that good men still existed in an industry built on self-interest. To Sam Elliott, Tom Selleck was proof that loyalty wasn't old-fashioned, it was heroic. Number 5. Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges and Sam Elliott share something rare in Hollywood: an emotional sincerity that never feels forced, a quiet depth that comes not from acting but from living. Their most iconic collaboration, The Big Lebowski, 1998, wasn't just a cult classic. It was the beginning of a bond rooted in mutual respect and spiritual ease. Sam often said that Bridges had a soul you could sit beside for hours, a compliment he never gave lightly. During promotional interviews for Lebowski, Sam recalled watching Jeff work and realizing he was witnessing something unique. Jeff doesn't play characters, he lets them breathe through him. That approach moved Sam deeply. While Sam's career was built on stoic men of the frontier, Bridges brought tenderness into Western storytelling. His vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was gravity. Sam later said that watching Jeff portray brokenness, humor, sadness, and hope, sometimes all at once, expanded his own understanding of what masculinity on screen could look like. On set, Bridges often carried a small camera around, taking photos of cast and crew. Sam remembered one afternoon when Jeff snapped a candid of him and said, "There's a softness in you most folks don't see." Sam never forgot that line. It made him realize that strength doesn't always have to wear armor. Their friendship deepened over the years. When Bridges publicly discussed his battle with lymphoma in 2020, Sam was moved by the grace and gratitude Jeff showed during interviews. He later said, "Jeff's heart is what makes him great. The acting is just a bonus." Bridges reminded Sam that even cowboys could be gentle, that the soul of a man mattered more than the legend. To Sam Elliott, Jeff Bridges wasn't just an actor, he was a lesson in humanity. Number 6. Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman has always been a paradox, one of the greatest actors of his generation, yet one of the most reluctant celebrities the industry has ever known. Sam Elliott admired him long before they ever met, captivated by Hackman's fierce commitment to storytelling. From The French Connection to Unforgiven, Hackman brought a contained intensity Sam found impossible to ignore. Hackman didn't want fame. He wanted truth, and that made him, in Sam's eyes, a rare breed. Sam once said in an interview, "Hackman worked like a man with something to prove, even when he had nothing left to prove." That dedication resonated deeply with him. Their most meaningful connection came through Unforgiven, 1992, a film Sam praises as one of the finest westerns ever made. Even though he wasn't part of the cast, he studied Hackman's performance relentlessly, particularly the quiet brutality and moral ambiguity of Little Bill Daggett. Sam later reflected that Hackman's work in that film changed the way I understood villains. Hackman showed that darkness could be soft-spoken, that cruelty could come with a smile, that the most frightening men weren't loud, they were certain. Years later, when Hackman retired from acting in 2004, Sam spoke publicly about how the industry had lost a craftsman who never cared for the circus of Hollywood. He admired Hackman's willingness to walk away, to trade red carpets for quiet days of writing and painting. It reminded Sam that a man's worth isn't measured by how long he stays in the spotlight, but by what he leaves behind. In Hackman, Sam saw discipline, humility, and the courage to follow one's own path, no matter how winding or quiet that path might be. To Sam Elliott, Gene Hackman was proof that greatness doesn't need applause. As Sam Elliott reflects at 81, his voice carries the weathered calm of a man who has lived long enough to understand what truly matters. These 6 men, Eastwood, Duvall, Wayne, Selleck, Bridges, Hackman, were more than colleagues or idols. They were mirrors, mentors, and quiet architects of his character. Through them, Sam learned that strength can be gentle, Silence can be powerful, and honesty can outlive fame. Their stories shaped him, just as his presence now shapes the next generation. And perhaps that is the real legacy. Men who pass the torch without ever asking for praise. Before you go, tell us in the comments, which of these legendary actors shaped your memories the most? And don't forget to subscribe for more timeless Hollywood stories.